This week on the show, Hutchie and I talked through Cranbourne. Obviously, we think there was a genuine pattern that you had to have, not so much on speed, but lanes 1 and 2. We go through that in depth. In the Foxes, Dan, we have to go a little bit out wide. Just don't want to trust too many. A few in the Hen House, including obviously Rafa. He was absolutely outstanding. They probably have to go to the top level now with that horse off that number. Outside of that, there's not much else other than a few go into the doghouse. In particular, a race you need to, I think the market will be against, especially going forward to a race like the Ballarat Cup. I think we look for a different form line. Let's open up Pandora's Fox. Hello and welcome to Pandora's Fox. My name's Julian Valens, joined as always by Clint Hutchison from the Racing.com team. G'day Hutch, how was the weekend? Getting closer to your Hong Kong jaunt, building up okay there, but weekend all right for you?
The weekend was all right, yeah. Friday was not great. Saturday wasn't much better, but Sunday we turned things around, Jules. So we ended the weekend in good style.
In international waters you turned it around, I'm assuming, in HK?
We did.
Yes.
Hong Kong was good and... we got to watch the Japan race, which was also outstanding.
I actually did flick that over at some stage. I don't know why or how, but I did watch that race.
Because you're a victim.
Yeah, that's right. Degenerate. Let's get to the track intel. All right, Cranbourne here, Hutch. So, bit in this, out 3 metres the entire circuit. Good 4, upgraded to a good 3 after after race 3. Here's the intel. And we're going to get some graphics as well to support this theorem that I have. A lot of people saying you had to be on speed. I'm not so much in that camp. I'm in the camp heavily that lanes 1 and 2 were a major advantage in the run. And let's go through them. Race 1, refused to be English, leaders back, lane 1. Race 2, some horse starts with K. It leads, lane 1. In race 3, some other horse starts with K. Leads, lane 1. Race 4, Nation State, lane 1, leads. Race 5, Harry Got Styles, lane 2, outside leader. Race 6, Savoir Faire, rails in run, the sort of 5th or 6th, but rails in run, lane 1. Race 7, Wings of Songs, rails in run, lane 1. Outlier, Jumbo Jet, Nadal, 3 wide out the back. Wins like Farlap, outstanding. We'll get to it a little bit later. Globe leads, lane 1. And last, the $1.50, $1.40 favourite, O2 Good, sits outside leader, lane 2. A lot of the other horses that ran 2nd, 3rd and 4th, also throughout the day, horses like Fishin were all leaders back lanes 1, and that's where they got the run through. Ray Magnero, those kinds of horses as well. So I've got no doubt, lanes 1 and 2, you had to be there on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. And what can often happen is when we're assessing tracks and people sometimes think, it's a leader's track, but those types of tracks are pretty rare. Normally, it is actually that the inside strip is quicker, and it's the first horse to it. You got Cranbourne's short straight,
for sure,
all that sort of thing. So the inside couple of lanes, in particular the fence, was quicker, I think. And like you've referenced all the horses there. So first to it was a good spot to be, and if you're on a pretty quick track, that's a big bonus. But I couldn't agree more. Inside lanes were good, but there was one that defied that. We'll chat about that later.
Did he ever? Just with this, and this is about obviously going forward. What do we do with these going forward? So it's tricky. Cranbourne overall, this is their big day that they run on the Saturday, and probably outside the Pinker. This is where the best class of horses race on this day. So you've got to be really careful because they're going to bust the clock in terms of the standards, aren't they? They're going to be well inside standard time. It's just because they're just a much better class horse than what usually runs at Cranbourne. So you've got to be really careful how you review. You've got to be careful of horses that did have that lane 1 and 2 saloon passage. And maybe we're a little bit forgiving of horses that were sit 3, 4 wide out the back or something like that, because it's going to be a tricky meeting going forward. I don't think you can just stamp them all and say, well, that was the number they did. They're going to be able to back it up again.
It's very difficult. I think it's one of the most difficult things when you're rating races. You're not really sure how to do it. I know there's lots of people that do it different ways. Maybe they've got an idea about it. I don't. I do it a bit on feel going forward.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest.
You look at it. I mean, you're normally bonusing a length or two, which is a lot, but you just got to be cognizant of it. And it is the tricky part. And we're used to doing it in Victoria because we get a lot of tracks with certain lanes that are better than others.
Correct, we do. All right, that was the track intel. There's a bit in it, but I think it's worth following, punters. Okay, Hen House, the races that we liked here, Hutch, are going to kick off with race 1. The winner was Refuse to be English. Quarter of a second inside standard time, but I loved the last 400, 200, just about the best of the day. It was a first starter. It was well supported. It was leaders back. Leader, I think, had every possible chance, but it went past it like it was absolutely stuck to the ground. It's a horse that's got plenty of potential, I think, Refuse to be English.
The money spoke volumes, didn't it? What a performance this was. Against a horse that's sort of set a pretty good
got a good benchmark, hasn't it? Yeah.
We've mentioned about the pattern on side, but this was still an extremely impressive performance from a horse that, first day at the races, entitled to probably do a few things wrong, and he's a nice horse, so definitely one to follow. Yeah,
they can aim up with him, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with Refuse to be English, but he's one you need to be following with confidence, I think. Next one, probably some people are going to be against this race, but I'm with it just for a few factors, and I'll get to that shortly. But it's race 6. The winner was Savoir Fire, as we said. It was rails in run, came off them. It was on the quick 7-day backup again. This was its third run from the prep, so I'm not suggesting this is going to be able to hold its next start, but I think there's a few around it we can follow with confidence. Look, 2 3/4 of a second inside standard time. They've lit up the track here. Now, their last 400, 200 is very soft compared to the rest of the day. They only ran 12.5 that last 200. So that's where I think the criticism can come if it does come. But I just think there's a few horses here that are early in their prep at this 2,000 metres. They're coming out of a fast run race. Even a race like the Ballarat Cup in 2 weeks' time, if you compare this to, we're going to get to the Doghouse soon, to the Cranbourne Cup, I'd actually be taking a benchmark 84 this race. Fast run race. I think there's a bit of guts to this, probably.
Had to do a double take with the times in this one. I thought they really run this fast.
Yeah, it's gone fast, haven't they?
They have gone really quick. Good win, and I agree with you. I mean, you have to trust the time. What can you do? I mean, they've run exceptionally quick, so that's what we like to see, Jules. Fast run races. I wouldn't take too much notice of the late sectionals.
Yeah, they've gone so fast, haven't they? They had to.
Their efficiency was going to drop off big time, so it was a good performance. Winner was good.
Really good. And was only, as I said, third run prep. I will say, though, it was on the quick 7-day backup, and usually that can get a real peak performance. And then sometimes coming out of just such a fast run race, they regress a little. But we know it's got this number now, so, I think we can be with it, whether it's not till next prep or whenever it is. But second, third, fourth, even Adler, who's been one of mine that I've never had, can never have this horse. But it was off 66 days last start, and then obviously ran off 16 days, third up here. Even if it went to a 2,000 metre race, I'd want to be with it next start. And another one called Duke of Collida Kite, I think it was called.
Condicote?
That's it. Yep, the brother of Collida Kite.
You've done well there.
Is Condicote. I think we can be with it next start as well. I think they're going to really absorb that pressure and be ones to follow. Let's get to the last Hen House race, and everyone will be saying, yes, indeed. The winner was Nadal. 1 1/4 seconds inside standard time. The last 400, 200, like overall, I think they were only about 12 flat, but the winner was 11.43, which is about the best of the day. Outlier, as we spoke about in terms of the pattern, was off the map in terms of a betting situation. Fourth up, it's absolutely exploded. The number I've got for it is gigantic. Proper jumbo jet stuff, this.
I feel like with this horse, I'm like Federer versus Nadal on clay. Do you know what I mean? When you're always on the wrong time.
You can't find him. You can't catch him.
I just can't beat him. Just cannot beat him. This is French Open stuff. Roland Garros. What a win. I say, where did it come from? He has shown a little bit of that. He showed it at Caulfield.
Yeah, it was a big number at Caulfield. And then Flemington, unlucky, I get it. But then this is stratosphere.
I was one of those that thought Ballarat Cup would be better around a bend, and I think he was.
Yep.
But the other thing is maybe Nadal was better around a bend too. Like the last 2 ones around a turn, he's been exceptional. I'm not sure about this one. I mean, it was just so good. They can aim as high as they want, because you are tying in the form with Barrakill, and we know he's on the heels of those Group 1 performers. So exceptional win, defied the pattern, third best 200 of the day, off a strong speed.
It's outrageous.
Like, it's incredible.
Anyway, you cut it. It's like right there as a Group 1 performer now, isn't it?
So we've lost one Nadal and we've got another one.
You're correct.
That's ultimately what's happened. Did you rate Nadal when he was a player?
He's a ripper. He's a ripper. But I was a Federer man. Was he?
He was my favourite.
So Federer was my favourite.
Oh, please.
But Nadal had him.
He's a Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, I get that.
Well, secrets, I reckon. Dark. It'll come out eventually. Fed, won't it? Come on. There's got to be something there, doesn't there? It can't be that. It can't be that clean cut. If he is, he's better than me.
Anyway, do they go to a Group 1 now? Or?
Well, is this Oakley Plate now looking outrageously cool? Like a horse like Ballarat Cup, a horse like Nadal, a horse like Neance. There's probably a few others there that are all just had great springs off Broadway. Yeah, but that number has to now put it in the picture. I don't know where else they sort of... they've got to aim up. You've got to aim up with
I haven't checked what the official rating would be now, but he probably has been given what he needs to.
So onwards and upwards for Rafa, that's for sure. That was the Hen House this week, punters. All right, Doghouse has to be one that we're going to put in here. It's actually going to be the Cranbourne Cup punters. So Globe wins the race, third of a second outside standard time. So that's okay. So as long as it's outside standard time, I want them to come home good last 400, 200 Hutch. They haven't. 24-4, 12:39. Very poor compared to the rest of the day. Just think he's probably had his birthday. I know he's had his issues. He sort of promised the world early doors and delivered the Globe. But he now has done that. A lot of these horses, second, third, fourth, people want to be with them because there's a listed Cranbourne Cup.
Yeah.
Races like the Ballarat Cup in 2 weeks' time, they want to gravitate towards them. I'm going to be against it. I think this race has gone ordinary at best.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Globe on the weekend, and when I saw the pattern, it was encouraging.
Double stamp, yeah.
Wasn't that impressive post when you go over the numbers. I'm not sure about those in behind, like you said. They've been fair at best. He's still got some upside, but like you said, it depends what price he comes out and where they decide to go. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be jumping on a tram to go back in somewhere, that's for sure. No,
most people wouldn't be jumping on a tram anyway, to be honest. But
that's true.
Yes. Doghouse, Cranbourne Cup, be against it, punters. All right, hits and misses. Hutch, this is the PointsBet marketplace and what was supported and... if they landed or whether we want to be with them going forward. Probably that's the key factor we want to try and identify for the punters out there is do we want to be with these horses going forward. In race one, they wanted to back two horses. Romans Go Home, $3.40 into $2.25. It had the pattern in its favour, led, had Shin. It runs second. Would you want to be with it next start, this horse?
It needs to be well placed. He's sort of consistent on pace. He's going to find suitable tracks. He's no star. I thought he was over bet myself, but I didn't find the winner. So there you go. But like you said, he had a lot in his favour. Yeah,
he did have a lot in his favour. I'd be against him next start just because he'd probably be at pointing end. I think we can be against him. Next horse we've already spoken about, Refused to Be English, $8 into $4.20, especially in the last 5 minutes, as we speak about a lot. These first starters that continue to trim up in the last 5 minutes, where the big guys don't have any data for him, is just so significant. He wins the race. It's a horse you've got to be with going forward.
Oh, yeah. The money was on from out wide, that's for sure.
Correct.
There's plenty of it.
Yes. Race 2, a horse called Papal Army, $11 into $7. We've got Miss there, but it runs second. So if those punters probably back the each way, it went well. Do I want to be with it again? I haven't got the race going enormous, Hutch, but if it found it right, it's right, great.
No, I thought these early races patterned. The pace wasn't even that strong in a couple of them, so... Not for me.
Yep. Race 3, Adonis Kick, 16 into $6.50. It misses. It runs unplaced. I wouldn't want to be. It was actually rails in run, this horse. I thought it was really poor. So I wouldn't want to be with it going forward.
No.
Race 5, there was two horses they wanted to back. Trapeze Warrior, 5 into $2.35. Now, I know there was some deductions here as well, but these are the two horses that did really clear out. That was it was interesting because when Luke couldn't find speak of Luke Nolan, he couldn't find the lead. He sort of got into a weird spot. He sort of was 3 wide, didn't know where to go, but he was plain, I thought, Trapeze Warrior. Would you want to be with him next start?
I mean, honestly, you jump out, you've seen a pattern. What are you doing?
Well, he definitely jumped first, didn't he?
He jumped first. 3 wide, no cover. It's an interesting weekend with regard to tactics. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end of the show because sometimes you've got to ride the horse, but sometimes you see a pattern on a horse like this is going to be there. Be a little bit more proactive. Like he ended up in no man's land.
He did.
So for me, it was a forgive, but it was ordinary.
Yep. Same race. Harry Got Styles was ridden sort of aggressively. Ends up sitting outside leader, well supported. $9 into $9.50 into $3.60. He was on the quick 7-day backup. Look, he's got the job done there. I think now that's well done to the camp. He was deep into his prep. I think 6th run, 7th run. So if you backed him, well done. But now I think you can probably around Harry Got Styles going forward. Race 6, Savoir Faire, $14 into $6. Yes, got the rails in run, but it's a race we like. I think we can keep following that horse.
Yeah, no, it was a nice win and surprised me, but it was well backed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. Race 7, Brazen Lady. Now, this is a horse that tried to defy the pattern because it was out the back and wide. $8.50 into $5.50. So the market wanted to be with it, even though the pattern was probably going to be against it. And I tell you what, it flew late and just missed. Might be one that got away from that horse on Saturday. I think I want to continue being with Brazen Lady.
Yeah, okay. I think the whole meeting's a little bit suspect.
Yeah, it's stinky. That's fair.
I'll sit on the fence with Brazen Lady.
What about this one? Race 8, Nadal, $5.50 into $4. Do you reckon you'd want to be with him next start?
Vamos!
Very good. Hits and misses, punters. In the Fox's Den, we found a little bit tricky at Cranbourne Hutch, so I've sort of gone a little bit wide just out of some maiden races, which have sort of had some success with recently. Hawkins, I reckon we get to him now 2,000 metres next start, maybe at Moonee Valley or in a 64 or a 70. I've got that race going really high. He seems a progressive horse. I want to be with him. And My Temptation just won a maiden as well, but I thought it was really impressive, ran good time, and I like the last 400, 200. So they're my two from out wide, and you had one, I think, from Friday night that ran second in a maiden.
A maiden was beaten by a pretty handy one in Canara, but Puglia, who has been second at 3 starts now. It was a mile, just a bit one pace. Look, the winner's got Reginald Allen form.
Yes.
And I didn't think it'd get the mile. Of course, it won with a leg in the air, but nonetheless, I think they'll just find a maiden somewhere. And I don't think 1,600 is necessarily going to be the right trip for it going forward, but they'll probably knock over the 1,600 and then step up and trip. But Puglia, Puglia, is the one to follow.
Big gap to third to win that race, so that was a positive thing, I think, for that one. That is in the Fox's Den this week. All right, thinking outside the Fox here, Hutch, you actually just started this with a bit of tactics situation, so we'll play into this space first. You want to just say do you think jockeys are saying, well, this is the pattern of the horse, this is how it needs to be ridden, but then when you do see the way a track is playing, and for example, lanes 1 and 2 or something at Cranbourne, they should just ride to that position and then see what happens from there?
Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion, I think, because it's like we saw in the Japan Cup, it was a bit leaderish, that track, and Yutaka decided to go back to last on Dojuice, and you would have thought no chance. We've seen Neonce the other day where he couldn't lead into the win. Let's ride the horse to what suits that particular horse. I'm not strong on it one way or the other necessarily in terms of, if you see a pattern, you have to do this, because some horses it doesn't always work with. And I know we can be critical, but if there is a pattern and such as trapeze artists, I think you've got to do your utmost if you're going to commit to find that spot. So it's interesting. I'm not completely sold one way or the other, but I think probably more we could see try and find whatever the pattern of the day is. But I understand on the weekend with regard to Cranbourne, there's only so many that can fill those spots.
Yes.
So it's a really difficult one when you're dealing with a fence that's, lanes 1 and 2 are good. There's not much you can do. Not much else
you can do. I will say that, like Trapeze Warrior, its MO is to roll forward, and to dominate races. That's the issue. That was the interesting one.
And I'd rather see, when you get tracks like that, I think, you would rather see them burn a little bit more to get that spot. Yep. Because I think in the long run, and you see it in other jurisdictions more, it actually ends up still paying dividends if you've got to work a bit harder to get your spot.
Yep, it's a fair call. The last one I want to get to is I've got a list here, Hutch. Is there anything left on the bingo card for races being delayed or abandoned?
Wow.
Now, I talk about this because Cranbourne, I think after race 2, there was a fire on track.
I think there was a discarded cigarette butt or something that started a fire. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it was very hot and very windy day, but then I saw some footage of it and I was like, well, this... And then I think on racing.com, Nigel might have been speaking. You could see the smoke. I was like, well, this is cool off. But they seemed to get rid of that. They must have had the bloody dustbusters out or something. I'm not really sure. But so it got me thinking.
That is a new one.
That's a new one, isn't it?
It's a new one.
It's a new one. But there's a few around. So fire, that goes into there. Kangaroos on track has happened. One on Port Lincoln on Friday, which was a real interesting one. Bloke stole a car and started doing burnouts on the track. So that's a new one. So we had to abandon that meeting.
You weren't in Port Lincoln on the weekend, were you, mate?
Yeah, no. Fingerprints, always wear gloves. Always wear gloves. Snow, obviously. Lightning, yes. Wet, heat, wind, all those. Holes in track. We've had that a fair bit. Seymour, those kinds of places. There's always a hole in the track. Ambulances delayed for whatever reason. What else have I got? Barrier malfunctions. Yes, we have that many times.
I've done one of those.
Yes. Photo finisher operator goes down And so they just can't run the races. Sometimes they just go. We just don't have a magnifying glasses, or people don't have any eyes anymore, so we can't use that. Power failure, yes, I get that. Fading light. COVID-19 had some impact as well. Then there's the tab going down. Remember that on Flemington Carnival?
Yes.
TAB went down.
We were delayed
Everything
for
else
the 3
delayed.
hours, of course.
It was never going to go to a Sunday.
Can you just fill for 2 hours?
Yeah.
I was on the coverage.
Yeah, it would have been fun.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, bring out the
Oh
juggling
my God,
balls.
that's an amazing list you got there. Have you got any more?
There was one more. Now, again, this is not, we don't like this, but this is the most, I would say, popularised one for a race being not postponed, but just delayed a little bit. Patron on track fallen ill.
Yeah.
We at least have one of those every 6 weeks, I think.
Yes.
And so the ambulance has to go see them, which they do, and that's fine. But that's one, but I thought that was the asterisk. That patron fallen ill is the one that I think is the most populous in terms of those. But we now add fire on track to the list. But you just know through the evolution of time and the way what things happen in this society.
I've been in Hong Kong. There was a snake in the
go.
parade in one of the drains one year,
and so
it got delayed. We had a delay for about an hour while they tried to catch the snake.
Okay,
A cobra.
Ooh,
you want to be careful with them. You don't want to be jumping. I was talking about this. It's interesting. Why don't we have a second ambulance?
Well, we do.
Oh, not on all of them, I don't think.
I think we do. I thought we did. And so they've got to wait for the second one to come.
Okay.
Anyway.
Maybe we need a third one.
Well, this is my point. I think this is where we need to get to. This is where we need to get. We might just need to race in a bubble.
Yes.
But then something will happen to the bubble. Yeah. Anyway, that's the show. Thanks, Hutch. See you later. Bye. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.